We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Gatchaman, Issue 0, Free Comic Book Day, 2024, Mad Cave Studios installment. This has 3 short stories in it. The first one is Episode 0, written by Cullen Bunn, art by Chris Batista, colors by Carlos Lopez, letters by Buddy Beaudoin. Second story is Inner Compass, written by Tommy Lee Edwards, art by Daniel Hansen, lettered by John Workman. And finally, The Rival by Steve Orlando, with art by Kath Lobo and letters by Frank Cvetkovic. The cover art is by Chris Samnee, cover colors by Jordan Gibson, edited by Chaz Pangburn. Now, since this was a Free Comic Book Day installment, I didn't really have high hopes for it, but I remember Battle of the Planets as a kid, and I've seen a couple episodes of Gatchaman over the years, so I thought I'd check it out and see what it was all about. Well, we start off with a giant wheel trying to destroy the city, and that is a weapon of Galactor, and they're determined to use their super science to dominate the world. But they didn't count on the science ninja team, which seems to largely focus around Ken, who is the eagle, and then Joe the condor, June the swan, Jinpai the swallow, and Ryu the owl. So obviously there's a lot of bird themes, and they say things like bird attack and bird strike, stuff like that. And they all have different vehicles, but they largely hang out in their main ship, the God Phoenix. Now, their boss, Dr. Nambu, gives them directions. They are trying to stop Galactor with science ninja stuff, and they end up having to use the God Phoenix in some sort of superpower charge mode. It's the Firebird technique or something, and it's a risk of death every time they use it, so there are high stakes there, but they were fighting the minions and not getting very far, so they have to stop this giant wheel. It was a pretty cool intro to the characters. You get to see each of them introduced. They're all being awesome and actually doing some combat, and there is sort of this illusion that something else may be going on too. The second story, Inner Compass, is Ken trying to make it back to base. He's gravely injured and he's bleeding pretty heavily. We learn about somebody called Red Impulse. We don't really know much about him, but Ken was dreaming about his dead father. It was kind of an okay story. I didn't care for the art in that one. The art in the first story is a lot more like the animated series. It's a little manga for my taste, but it's not bad. Stylistically, the characters are easily identifiable. It's got bright colors, looks like a cartoon or an old school 4-color comic book, and that really worked for it. The third story, The Rival, focuses on a lesser Galactor minion named Czar. He's very upset about Katse being in charge of the forces, I guess, and he's whining about it. There's a lot of very animated look here with like spittle flying everywhere. It's kind of annoying. And that one gets pretty bloody. Second story had good shading at least. The third one was way too manga for my taste. But I thought the story was weaker in the second one than in the third. The third one, although it had worse art, had the better story. That third story is a lead-in to Galactor miniseries, but the first story was definitely the best, and that makes it worth picking up. There is some foul language in here, which is really disappointing actually, because this could have been a really good all-ages book, because comics really need to bring in more younger readers, and this had the potential to do that because of the 2 cartoon series that came before, Battle of the Planets and Gatchaman, and I think there was even a G-Force comic book series for a while, and I think this really could have bridged that gap and brought in some younger readers, but the swear words really bring it down and the blood, so that really restricts it to more of an adults-only title. So I will recommend tracking this down. If you could still find it for free, pick it up that way, but I would say it's worth $1 or $2 in the back issue bin. Probably wouldn't pay more than that because it is just lead-in, and these stories will be reprinted in the trade paperbacks, I would think. But it did get me excited to read issue 1 of Gatchaman, so I am going to recommend this. Solid recommendation. The first story definitely makes it worth picking up. The second story was okay art with a very mediocre story, and the third one had a decent story with very mediocre art. And like I said, the stories are a bit of a mixed bag, but that first one definitely justifies picking it up. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.